Kids are going to struggle the next 10 years when they look back and somebody says, I'm going to go back, introspect, I'm going to look at this and say, what happened to the kids that went to 2 and 3 and 4 places? I will assure you we will not be happy with where those kids that jump for greener grass went to. And
how are we on this many teams? Kirby Smart is calling out players like Jaden Rashada, and it really applies to a lot of players in this modern transfer portal NIL era, bouncing to different teams, looking for the biggest bag. Now, I am very pro transfer portal, even pro more NIL. And as things start to kind of unravel, I think you're starting to see things bubble over and boil over. Now, if you're not familiar with Jaden Rashada, he's a quarterback that was a 4-star prospect, one of the top quarterbacks currently in the portal. And his father advised him against from finding a team in this last time in the portal. And he was a former Arizona State, former Florida, obviously until he sued Florida and their NIL stuff, and now former Georgia quarterback who's looking for a new team and just had a visit with Western Kentucky. So clearly he's understanding where things are and going down a little bit of a level. But what does that really mean? Well, Kirby Smart's going to talk. You got Gilbert Arenas. We got a lot of different people, Pat McAfee, more Kirby Smart, and they're all kind of speaking on what it means and what it looks like in this modern era. And Kirby Smart says better than anybody. He's going to call him straight out. Go ahead.
Do you like want to be great? Do you have fire, passion, and energy? I'll pay for that. I'll pay a premium for fire, passion, and energy because in the market we're in, there's a lack of that. Kids are going to struggle the next 10 years when they look back and somebody says, I'm going to go back, introspect, I'm going to look at this and say, what happened to the kids that went to 2 and 3 and 4 places? I will assure you we will not be happy with where those kids that jump for greener grass went to. And I think the portal's a good thing for a lot of kids that are 3rd, 4th, 5th year, but it also gives you a way out that I don't think is good for kids right now.
And I don't know if he could be talking to anybody but Jaden Rashada, like we talked about. And just to kind of give you, if you're new to the story, a little rundown. You have the 4-star 2023, committed to Miami, decommitted, committed to Florida, signed with Florida, leaves Florida. We're at February 2023, commits to Arizona State, enters the portal in April 2024, and then commits to Georgia in April 2024, then sues Florida over NIL 2 years later. And then January 2025 is back in the portal and just finished his Western Kentucky visit. And it seems like, I have to assume that things went pretty positively. But when we talk about Jaden Rashada, like I alluded to, if you don't know, his by all intents and purposes, his dad is the reason why he didn't find a team in the first window, right? He said, let's wait for another window. Let's wait for some more opportunities. And I think as we have these conversations, as we watch these rest of these videos, right, there's going to be a lot of different conversations about the kids and about this and about that. I want the focus to be on the NCAA and the things around these young gentlemen that are failing them, because it is so easy with the basketball, with this, with football, with double portal in football, which is exclusive to football, which is crazy. I don't know why that is, how it's like that. That don't even make no sense. But what all this crazy is going on, it's easy to kind of point the finger at the performers, at the kids, at these people who are just learning about it, and not all these grown adults that are pulling strings and probably the same reason why he was able to sue for NIL and that went nowhere, right? It's starting to leave bad taste in people's mouths and making people look at this kid in a bad way when really we need to look at that whole support system and say, how are we on this many teams? So let's get into these few games, and then after that we also have the full breakdown. So if we have time, we can give you the full backwards breakdown in the style. But let's start with, I think, a name that, you wouldn't be familiar with in Gilbert Arenas. Actually, before that, let's go Kirby, because Kirby actually talked about some of these similar things, talking about, hey, I'm looking for players who are out there for more than just NIL deals, right? And I'll let him kind of go deeper on that.
I think players have value, and they should be rewarded for that value. But at the expense of what? At the expense of us having 3 or 4 sports that can't do anything and support anything? So because they get the television revenue and because they raise it, should they get first dibs on all that and us not have other sports? I don't think that's right. And there's a balance to be had. But no, I don't think kids come and I don't have kids come in. If they come in and say that, then I'm going to listen to them and talk to them, but I'm scratching them off the list. I'm over that, because if that's all that matters, then you need to send out a bid like they do for jobs and say, supplement your bid. Let me take visits and just I'm going to go to the bid and go to the highest bidder. That's I really believe there still does matter a relationship And if relationship doesn't matter, then I'm probably not going to have a kid that wants to play hard for Georgia, right? So relationship matters, work ethic matters. Like, do you like want to be great? Do you have fire, passion, and energy? I'll pay for that.
And again, he goes more onto the same thing that we talked about. But I want to, and we're gonna listen to this. This was from July, and this was from before the season. I'm gonna listen to this little excerpt, and then we're gonna get to Gilbert Arenas in the other videos. But for as much, even me, as much criticism as I give, as much as criticism as other people give Kirby Smart, right? That consistency through the NIL era has been there for him, because you look at the production that he's gotten out of walk-on quarterbacks like Stetson Bennett. You can see him, believing in a guy like Carson Beck, who was on the roster, if I'm not mistaken, for 2 years before he even got the chance to take over the reins, right? So, he enters the portal as a guy who waited 2 years, started 2 years, and then left, right? So I don't think it's the same thing that, he's not talking about a Carson Beck. He's talking about a Jaden Rashada, right? He's talking about people who don't even seem to want to compete and do those things. And then you're talking about somebody who's going to be the supposed starter in Gunnar Stockton, who's also been in the system for, correct me if I'm wrong, another 2 years, waiting for his opportunity too. So he's preaching some of these things, right? When he talks about the importance of, building a true connection, a true, that next level. What are you going to play? How hard are you going to play? And doing that might look different for different ways in different places and different, different positions. So here he is in July 16th, kind of talking about NIL and how recruiting has changed.
I think it's a mistake to assume that all players lead with that, or that's the primary objective. I think that would be an insult to high school football players and really insult to all people being recruited, because I don't get to the finish line of official visits where that's the primary objective. If it is, we're probably not getting to that point. We're probably not going to be in the conversation if that's the primary objective. Is that one of the key decision makers? Yes. And should it be? Yes. I'm happy that these kids get an opportunity to improve their situation or make money and give back to their families, or in some cases their communities. So that doesn't bother me at all. I have no problem navigating that. I've gotten less attached and said, you know what, if it's better for that young man because of a financial difference between us and another school, I respect that decision and opinion they have to make. I have to worry about the players that we do get. Okay, and I worry about the ones that we do sign, that they're the right kind of kids and they're coming for the right reason. That includes money, but it's not just money.
Yeah, and again, for as much as Kirby's going to continue to get, whoa, that was a random boy. As much as Kirby continues to get negative raps and XYZs for certain things, we have to all agree that his ability to adapt to the modern era of college football while still holding some of those things true, right? Still finding ways to offer value outside of just NIL deals. It needs to be championed as well. It needs to be looked at. So before we get into the rest of the videos that we're going to watch, let's read these, we're going to read these quick articles, just updating the final updates for Jaden Rashada. We're going to put that to bed and then kind of, listen to these other videos and then, talk about and give our takes and end it here. So ESPN's Pete Thamel has reported that Georgia quarterback Jaden Rashada will visit Western Kentucky this weekend, which has happened. Rashada signed with Florida out of high school, but was granted his release after an alleged failed $13 million NIL deal. Again, I just want to make sure y'all have the facts all together. He transferred to Arizona State in 2023 and then moved to Georgia for the past season and filed a lawsuit against Florida head coach Billy Napier and the Gators. Rashada shared his plans to enter the transfer portal back in January. So according to a report from Pete Thamel of ESPN, former Georgia quarterback is set to go on that official visit, right? Dogs HQ reported that ESPN's Pete Thamel that Georgia quarterback Jaden Rashada plans to enter the transfer portal. The Bulldogs backup spent just one season in Athens after transferring in from Arizona, where he did actually get some starts in there. So Rashada did not appear in a game for Red and Black after arriving in the summer. He was buried on the depth chart for most of the season with Carson Beck as a starter and Gunnar Stockton as the backup. The true freshman Ryan Puglisi was also around, and after Stockton elevated to starter following an injury to Beck in the SEC championship, it was Puglisi that appeared to be the new backup quarterback. The former four-star, which, I mean, in all seriousness, you gotta. I mean, at that point, you kind of get to give him credit. A dude literally went down and he still didn't get his chance. So you gotta see the writing on the wall there. The former 4-star prospect was a true freshman in 2023 at the Arizona in 2023 at Arizona State. Jeez, and was able to take a red shirt after appearing in just 3 games. He started first 2 games of the season for the Sun Devils before suffering an undisclosed injury that caused him to miss the next 9 games. An undisclosed injury. I don't know. Everything is just. Like, I'm not sure you heard the expression, if you start hanging around shit, you start smelling like, you know what I'm saying? But it's like mystery injury playing for Arizona State, a lawsuit NIL that didn't go through, and then you have a transfer portal session in which your dad says, again, we're just going to wait it out for more money. I don't know, dog. It's just, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to add all this stuff. When you add it all up, it looks nasty. When the dust settled on Rashada's freshman season, he had completed 45 of 82 passes, 53.7%, 484 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He also carried the ball 14 times, 23 yards. Rashada made news coming out of high school when he requested to be let out of his signed letter of intent to Florida. According to published records, the Gators were unable to live up to their NIL promises to Rashada, causing him to look around. The California native settled in Arizona State with a respected offensive coordinator. Wow. Kenny Dillingham taking over as head coach. As a prospect, Rashada ranked as a number 73 overall prospect in 2023 overall class and on 3 industry rankings as a weighted average of 4-star for sites that publish recruiting rankings. He was a number 6 quarterback and number 6 prospect in the state of California, and we see where he is right now, basically in limbo, talking to Western Kentucky, which is actually a very respected football program. I know it's not the biggest name, but if you watch football, you know they get that down out there. So let's see what the other people have to feel about it. Ashton Genty, Pat McAfee, different people like that. We're going to start with No Chill Gill of all people, and he says you can't compare your kids to these unicorn-type people, and I think this has a strong relation as someone who's also a professional athlete and has a son in Elijah Arenas who's about to start getting these NIL deals, and how he sees it and how maybe some of these, I don't know, parents are causing bad problems for their kids.
With NIL, with your son and your daughter, you do have the financial means that, but do you still, how are they taking advantage? Will they take advantage of name, image, and likeness? Your son and daughter are very, very highly rated recruits.
Yes, I told them, there's NIL and then there's collective, right? Most, parents are mixing the two and they don't understand the difference. NIL is your name and likeness, so you have to be a popular player and personality. The collective is what everyone's getting from the school themselves, right? So, the school money is very different from the NIL. NIL, you have to earn through your performance, your social media presence. So, they're understanding, that situation.
Okay. But are you their agent? Are you negotiating?
No. I'll talk to agents. Right now, my son is thinking about going with Clutch Sports, and, working on the NIL side of it. My daughter's still trying to figure out, what she wants to go with. I think she might go with Aaron Goodwin for her NIL and collective deals.
Yeah. And then your son reclassified?
Yes. He went from being a junior to a senior so he can, get into college early because the collective money will be cut off April 8th, and then there will be a cap in college.
But do you look at Cooper Flagg at 18 being successful as any kind of blueprint, or, hey, my son can do the same thing at the same age?
You can't compare, your kids to these unicorn type of kids, where that's where a lot of parents mess up. Cooper Flagg is one of those rare, kids where, you can't build the blueprint off of, those type of kids, the LeBron James, the Cooper Flaggs, the Paulo Bancheros, the Zion Williams. Those are one-offs, right? Cooper Flagg will be successful. What can you say about him, right? He's the number 1 pick. He will be the number 1 pick. And people say if AJ was in this draft, he would be the number 1 pick. Yeah, right. I'm sorry. Just Cooper Flagg has an engine you can't teach, right? You can teach him skill. You can teach him the game. You can't teach how hard he plays this game. And 17, now 18, I'm drafting him number 1 every single time.
I think that's important. And I think it's important coming from somebody who's not only a professional athlete, but who has kids that are at the level of professional athletes. Like I said, like, hey, I don't know, y'all know, hey, that boy nice. Okay. And I think, obviously Gil being, somebody who is a tenured NBA player, been there, done that, played against some of the biggest and the baddest, in the history, right? Looking at his son, it's like, okay, yeah, you could probably play in the NBA. He's okay. But I think the rest of the world, like he alluded to, looks at him like, oh no, that dude's a dog. You know what I mean? So that is a dog, right? And that's what it takes, by the way, to play at the D1 collegiate level, right? A dog, a father of a complete dog telling you, hey, it's still one off. So to Jaden Rashada, who was a dog, and hey, still is a dog. Don't take anything away from him. He is still a dog. Who are you? Are you Arch Manning, dog? You know what I'm saying? And even Arch Manning sat behind Quinn Ewers for 2 years. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's levels to this. And it's almost like the people who get it, but some people don't get it. They don't get it. I'm sorry, Jaden Rashada. You had no name that anybody respected. You had no history that anybody respected. And my issue for these kids is that I want y'all to maximize this money, maximize these opportunities, but messing up your reputation to the point that a 4-star prospect who has just gone through three, and probably burnt bridges, I would have to assume, with 3 different top flight organizations. Arizona State, who was just in the college football playoffs. Look 'em horns. University of Georgia. I mean, I ain't got to say nothing much about them boys. University of Florida, very historic and respected SEC school. That's 3. And now you're looking at Western Kentucky. I'm not to say, you know what I'm saying, that's bad. But like that first video Kirby was talking about, the grass ain't always greener, dog. And you go from Arizona State to Georgia somehow, and then now you're going to be at, a Western Kentucky of that elk, right? Because it's probably not going to be that exact school, but of that elk. And again, here's what somebody has to say. One of the most prolific running backs to come out of college football in a while. How does he feel about NIL? This is going to be a quick little video.
Recruiting right now for the group of 5s is the development, right? You look at a player like me who went through Boise State. I was able to develop, right? And that's the most important thing, is to be able to play on the next level, right? The money you get right now is cool, it's great, but the money you'll get in the NFL, that's life-changing. That's generational.
Like I said, the people who get it, right? The people who know, and these are unicorns. Gilbert Arenas, he's a bit of a unicorn, the son of Gil. They're a bit of unicorns, by the way, in the level that they play. And even they still have this understanding of the levels, the wherewithal to understand where it is. I just really hope that Jaden Rashada does find a great place. I hope his father stops leading him down the wrong road. And I hope the kid gets to play some football. Like, man, like I never thought in my years of wanting kids to be paid and wanting it to be fair and yada yada yada, because injuries, this and that, the short span that you have for your athletic prime, especially when you talk about football compared to any other sport, right? I wanted them to get paid, and I continue to stand on that, but I didn't think it was going to get to the point that we don't even get to see the 4-star talent because he can't find a good balance of, it seems to be, NIL and playing time. It just, I don't know. This is what's killing the game. I don't think it's strictly just the money, but I think it's the, man, I want to see you play. I don't care if it's at an FCS school. I don't care if it's at a whatever. Like, ideally, if all these 4-stars that transfers to these places for big bags went to a slightly less bag and were prioritizing, like I used to in NCAA 14, prioritizing if they were going to start as a freshman, right? And again, that's not, but hey, We saw that with the Jared Kiwi story. Hey, we out of Oregon, he signs a big deal on campus and he leaves. We already made a video about that. So if y'all want to see that, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I had the link there. I don't know, but I wish the best for Jaden Rashada. We will be keeping an update on what he's got cooking up. There's sure to be plenty more updates, man. But if you enjoy videos like this, again, this is my bread and butter. We talk about transfer portal, NIL, all different types of phenomenal stuff with the world of college football. So if you like the video, like it. If you don't, dislike it, subscribe. If you enjoy these types of content, if you want to see it daily, let me know. Subscribe, hit it up, and all that fun stuff. You know you're great. Keep being great. And that's why you're going to be great, people.